So if you're thinking about doing a podcast, I highly suggest you use Anchor, and here's why. Now, first things first, it's free, and you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. I'm talking dollar bills, y'all. Plus, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to the major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of others, so that's one less thing you got to worry about. And they got all the tools you need to record and edit your podcast in one spot, and you can do all that from your phone or your computer, so in my opinion, it's really the easiest way to make a podcast. Now, if that's what you're looking for, and you're ready to jump on it, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What up, though? Welcome to Tamara to the Break of Dawn, the show where you'll literally ride my train of thought as I discuss the different types of challenges and struggles that we all can relate to. I'm your host, Tamara Dawn, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, you already know the struggle could be way too real sometimes, so my hope is that these shows will challenge and inspire you as I basically share the areas that I'm trying to grow in. So let's get it. Alright, so I low-key lied to y'all last week, and you already know when I say I lie, it's not like I intentionally lied on purpose in the moment. It's generally that I thought that's what it was. Then when I reflect on it, I decided I wanted to go a different way. So, season 2 will actually start next week. Now, as you can see, this is still a full-length episode, but I just decided that in between seasons, I do break as far as recording because I record my episodes in advance. That's the beautiful thing about having more so topic focused podcasts is that I don't have to, kind of wait. I can just get them ahead of time. And so I did take a break as far as recording once after I completed recording the season, but there's not going to be a break in, you're not going to miss out on anything. But I did want there to be some sort of separation that's just kind of like a random episode. So here we are. Season 1. No, wait, let's back up. First of all, thank you for tuning in. Let me start with my new listeners because I appreciate you tuning in, giving me a chance. Hopefully you add me to your rotation. So I really just appreciate you at least listening this one episode. Hope you stick around and whatnot. And then my day 1, day 2, wherever you hopped on the journey, thank you for continuing to rock with me, for your support. Thank you for continuing to listen. Man, it's so, I especially love when the people I know, or I love when people comment on the YouTube videos or message me or whatever, because it's kind of like, I like conversation generally. I like dialogue. I like talking to people about pretty much the stuff that I talk about on here. And with this being just me, it's a little bit different because you don't know how people are responding to it. Are you feeling me? Do you disagree? Which is okay, because I am not a person who just thinks I know it all, and I'm not opposed to different opinions. I love different perspectives. And so I love when I hear feedback, comments, whatever, just because it kind of just, lets me know how people are responding to what I'm saying. And so appreciate y'all rocking with me. Hopefully you like where we're headed with season 2. So season 1 was kind of like just me really seeing if I was going to stay committed, to be honest, because I've started so many creative projects over the years, mainly focused on writing, and never was consistent, it never really picked up. People didn't really read the blogs or just whatever it was. And so, because I don't know, I remember when I recorded the last episode of season 1, I just felt so proud. And even if I would have only done one season, which obviously that's not what I'm on, I should say. But even if I would have only done one season, I still would have been proud just because I set a goal for how many episodes I wanted to be, and I completed it. But obviously, here we are, so we're going to keep it going. But it wasn't really like I really had a plan or whatever. It was just kind of like me seeing whatever. And this season is still kind of going to be the same format in the sense of, this next season is still going to be me talking about my life or whatever and my perspective, what I'm going through, just me being transparent, probably getting even more transparent as I go because I've just become more comfortable with doing this. That was the thing too. It was kind of weird at first, but here we are. But I'm also going to have some guests this season, and I'm pretty excited about that just because as I've listened to other podcasts and you hear either the co-host dynamic or if they have a guest, it's always cool to just see that chemistry, the dialogue, the different perspectives, whether they agree or the different perspectives, but also if they disagree, hearing them hash it out. And it's never just been insane, anything I've heard. And so it's just been really cool to learn a lot about different people and just even stuff I never really thought, because I listen to them a lot at work, because I kind of will just zone out and do different reports or whatever. And so when I'm doing that, instead of listening to music, I've really enjoyed listening to podcasts because it's almost like watching TV, so I could laugh a little bit or whatever it is. And so I've really am excited about the guests that I'm going to have this season. And then we're going to continue having guests going forward. The season's going to be a little bit longer. Last season was 20 episodes. Going forward, it'll be 25. Don't ask me why. I just kind of come up with things and decide them. There's going to be a little bit more of a framework, kind of keeping some topics together instead of spreading them out. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to talk about because I want you to still have the element of surprise. Don't worry, I'm still going to be transparent, still going to be my same personality. You'll probably get more of it just because, like I said, I've become more comfortable with it. And then if you didn't start paying attention towards the middle of season 1, I never talked about it because the episodes were already recorded when I decided to add this, and I didn't want to go back and just add some random recording. But be sure to check out the episode notes every week to look for a shout out to a different podcast. Something that y'all might want to check out is basically why I'm doing it. I listen to the podcasts of the people that I've met on Twitter. Have I met any on Instagram? I don't think so. I think I met most of them on Twitter. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to even just music. So there's not really one specific style of podcast I listen to. I listen to either I met someone super cool and I'm like, oh, or I just met somebody, they liked a tweet and then I started following them. I'm like, oh, they do a podcast too. Let me at least check them out once, to see what they about. So every week I do a little shout out to I kind of got this idea from a podcaster that I met. I kind of noticed, I don't know, I've just learned a lot from this community. It's super dope, super just supportive, and like, I ain't never met these people before Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, strangers showing such love and support and celebrating with me when I'm happy about something that even maybe I feel is little. They're like, no, that's a huge, accomplishment, or just, I don't know. So it's just such a cool thing that I just feel really blessed to be a part of. So I just feel like I've been shown a lot of love, and I said it before, I was very surprised by that. And so I just want to, that's really who I am as a person. I try to show love to people. And so, yeah, be looking for that too. So, season 2 will start next week. And now let's talk about what I want to talk about. Kind of like where I'm at right now, what I'm struggling through, because I'm just like, I'm in this really weird place where I don't know. I feel like I don't know who I am. I feel like, I guess we'll start here. So, my oldest daughter, she'll be 18 next month. She'll graduate next month from high school. And my oldest is 20. My youngest is 16. So she'll be a junior next year because of the way, where her birthday lies and the cutoff or whatever. And I've been a mom since I was 19. And all of my adult life has been focused on raising kids and this, that, and the other. And I just feel like I don't even know who I am, because it's like, who am I if they're grown and gone, and I don't know. And so it's just been a really, I don't know. As soon as I realized I was about to turn 40, because I'll be 40 in June, that's when I started really reflecting on, who am I? You know what I mean? Because soon I'm not going to really have to be as focused on my kids. They're going to be, all in college or working or whatever it is that they're, deciding to pursue in adulthood. They're going to be on that. And I mean, already as teenagers, I mean, like I said, my oldest is 20, so he's already on that. But it's already like, your friends are more important, or, whatever relationship you're in, or it's just not as me focused, which is normal. It's healthy. I mean, I'm not all up in my mom's grill all the time, so it's like, I don't expect that, but it's weird, and I've just been super emotional about that, and I'm just like, who am I? You know what I mean? And like, on top of that, friendships have shifted, that people that I used to be super close with, we barely talk, and I'm not salty, you know what I mean? It's just been interesting, though, that as I've stepped away from those friendships, and some of the friends that I kind of more talk to more, because that's just how it goes in my life, there have always been seasonal people, and I don't know if it's because I grew up military that I can just easily shift like that, because we moved around, when I was little. But I don't know. I just have, relationships will shift. There'll be people that I'll be really rocking with for a season. There's never anyone that we fall off because we're beefing. It's just we don't talk as much. And so there are relationships that we barely talk. No love lost. I'm not mad. It's not even like that. But it's just weird because, I don't know. The relationships that I have, I guess, been investing more into, I'm like, not where have you been, no shade to the other relationships, because I don't want anybody to feel salty or whatever, because if you happen to listen and we don't talk as much, I'm talking about you, but it's not that I'm beefing, it's just we grow, we start changing, having different focus or whatever, and it just is what it is as far as where I'm investing my time. And it's just really, really crazy. I don't know. And then on top of that, though, I am exposed because I put myself out there with this podcast, because I barely used Twitter before that, just because I don't even know why. I had nothing against it. I've had a Twitter for years, but I just barely used it. But ever since I started this podcast, I interact with way more people on Twitter and even Instagram because random people just follow me. I don't know. I guess it's just because I put myself out there. I add a lot of hashtags to my posts to kind of bring more traffic to my page, to kind of hopefully attract people to, listen. Because like I always say, no creator, because I do this, but I also write. Been writing a lot of poetry lately, but I also, which you'll kind of hear some of that, going in this next season or whatever. I guess that's a little surprise. A little spoken word will be added to it. But I've been writing and just doing a lot of stuff. And some stuff is just for me because some stuff is about my feelings and about where I'm at. But then the stuff that you put out there, you want people to respond. That's why I always thank y'all for listening. Like, I really mean that, because if people stop listening, then it's kind of like I'm literally just talking to myself. You know what I mean? And so, because I've put myself out there, I'm around and I interact with so many more people, but I also feel to some degree so much more lonely. And it's just weird because in some sense I feel like now the people that I do talk to, I have deep relationships with, so I'm super grateful for especially a couple people that I've known since like junior high, who they've just, I don't know, I guess just after decades of knowing someone, you feel like they already know you, so why not, be your truest self? Not like I'm out here being fake for the rest of the world, but I just think there is wisdom in having parts that you don't bear to everyone. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody deserves that access to your fears or your insecurities or whatever. And sure, I put a lot out here, but there's a lot that I don't. I feel like we're all complex people and we all have deep thoughts and emotions and feelings, and there's always layers and levels to everything. So even though I put all this out here, because I really do it because I want people to know they're not alone, for those who maybe, don't really have anybody maybe in their life that's going through it. I've listened to some people share some of the most vulnerable things they could share on a podcast and almost have me in tears because they so beautifully articulated stuff that I've been through, feelings that I've been wrestling with. And that's kind of why I've always done done things the way I've done it, be it like statuses on Facebook, it kind of started there, whatever. So think there is wisdom in still having parts of you that are not known by everybody. So like the relationships that I have in my life, I'm super grateful for, because I feel like as I wrestle with a lot of the new challenges that come along with like interacting with so many people, that a lot of people didn't know me before I created a podcast. So it's this interesting thing because it's like they really don't know me, you know what I mean? They know what I do, they support it, I appreciate it, and it's mutual, you know what I'm saying? I'll quickly retweet somebody's podcast or whatever just because it's like one of my followers might want to, listen or whatever. And that's why I do the shoutouts in the episode notes. But I think though, I don't know, I just been feeling really alone lately. And then it's a very interesting season, as I've said before, I'm single, so all I have is my kids that I'm really around a lot. So then it's just weird with them growing up. And then sometimes I feel like, of course, they're going to be on each other's side when it comes to certain things. So there's this interesting dynamic where, of course, I'm the authority figure in the household. my kids are not disrespectful or anything like that, but sometimes I just feel like there's nobody on my side. It's just weird. I'm just kind of telling y'all where I'm at, who I am, whatever. If you're new, I guess I'll give you a little bit of, after I just poured all that out, give you some background information. I am a single parent, have 3 kids, I already said their ages. My son is the oldest. I have 2 daughters. I'm a social worker, so that's wild, and some of the stuff I talk about, if you go back to previous episodes, I've talked about the struggles of just dealing with people in crisis. I have such a heart for it, and I've had a heart for it for a long time, but it's a very thankless job. I haven't always been a social worker, and sometimes I don't even know if that's the right term, but that's just the best, broadest term that people understand what I do. And I haven't always specifically done this job, but I've worked in this field for about a decade. And so working with people is hard, but it's also rewarding. And obviously I host a podcast. I like to laugh. I guess that's just me in a nutshell for the most part. I'm a believer. I talk about that a little bit. Not like it's not important to me, but, it's interesting because how can I articulate this well? I feel like there are always so many, okay, let me not use the term believer. I'm a person who believes in God. I'm a person who, tries to be loving and reflect God's love to people. And so I think there are so many misconceptions about what it looks like to live for the Lord. And so that's kind of why it's not like, I don't even know how to explain it. So I guess that's not the focus of this podcast. Mainly, even though if you listen, I've talked about being spiritually healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, mentally healthy. I just think in general, it's good to focus on being an overall healthy person. And I think that a lot of times there are misconceptions when it comes to just, I don't know, ideas that people think. And I'm not saying, I have it all perfectly, but I'm just a regular person who just happens to know I need the Lord. I know that I wasn't a loving person before I allowed His love to transform me and heal me from my wounds. Doesn't mean that life is perfect. No, because I have been through hell and back in some ways. The daughters that I have, their dad was killed almost 5 years ago, and we weren't together at the time, but still, it has been very hard raising daughters whose father was killed. Like, it's one, and I'm not saying death, I'm not even going to say that. Death is hard, period, and it was unexpected, so I guess I'll just say that. And so that is hard. I've been through other things where, we were homeless for a while after, not like right after that, but at some period after that. I've struggled financially, struggled with health challenges, struggled with the way my kids have chose to grieve, and just the pain and frustration. And I kind of talked about that in the grief journal episode. And so doesn't mean that my life has been easy. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with days where I didn't want to get out of bed, or I had to force myself to eat, or force myself to shower, or maybe I didn't do any of the above and just laid in bed. And that's a lot of stuff that I don't talk about with everybody. And so a lot of why I've created this podcast is because the people in my life that know, especially with the girl's dad getting killed, because that was a very public thing in, where we live. And so, especially with that, people see me keep pushing, people see me whatever, and, this whole term of "you're so strong," it used to irritate me because it's like, but you're not there when I'm really struggling or when I'm whatever I'm going through, however I grieve. You're not there, and so you have this idea because you don't see me falling apart, because I still have hope, and that's where the whole relationship with the Lord piece comes into play. So it's kind of like I created this to just shatter the idea that life becomes perfect because you try to live for the Lord, or that you have to be perfect, or that you're going to think perfectly, or you're going to whatever. I just want to, share my struggles, because a lot of people think they're the only ones. And one of the biggest lies that I feel like, I always say something is the biggest whatever, because in that moment, it's the biggest whatever. So one of the biggest lies I believe that people fall, or I guess I'll just say believe, is that they're the only one and no one else understands. And while the external circumstances may be different, so no one else that I knows, well, I guess I won't say no one else's kid's dad was killed, but it might not have happened the exact same way that it happened with him. I guess I'll just put it like that. Or it could just be a relative died and maybe they were sick and died. Or it doesn't mean that you don't understand grief just because it didn't happen the way it happened for me. And so that's why a lot of times I focus on the underlying emotions, because those are felt by everybody. Everybody has felt shame. Everybody has felt fear, regret, guilt, deep sadness or whatever. Everybody has felt that at some point in their life. And so I focus on that because I feel like it unifies us as a people, and emotions kind of shatter some of the things that try to divide us, like race or maybe religious preferences or sexual orientation. Like, this country is just so divided, and it just makes me so sad, because we weren't created to be divided. We were created to be in relationship with other people. I don't even know how I got on that, because I have little bullet points, but yeah, to keep me like on focus, keep me focused and kind of like less and all that. So I don't know where that came from, but I guess that just needed to be heard. So that's just kind of where I'm at right now. It's an interesting place to be. And then on top of that, just kind of wrestling with different feelings that I don't know, like, man, now I'm just wrestling with different feelings that are new to me, and so sorting through why I feel the way that I feel, if like I'm questioning if I have feelings for somebody I know. I guess I'll just put it out there like that so you know what I'm talking about. And it's just an interesting thing, because it's not happening in a way that it's ever happened before. So it's foreign, it's different, but it's, I don't know, it's just something that's very much, this person is someone who's just been very much needed in my life, and it's just been a really interesting thing as I wrestle with that. And it's funny because I'll talk to a friend of mine about it, and I remember her asking me if I was ever going to bring it up on the podcast, and like, well, what if, he listens? And I'm like, I don't know if he listens or not, because I intentionally don't ask, because I just feel like I'd rather pretend, I don't know, I'd rather think you didn't listen than have to worry about whether or not you do. But I also know men are very, I don't want to say slow, but sometimes when it comes to stuff like that, they are. So that person could just, I don't know. But anywho, wrestling with just kind of that, and just, it's a very interesting and reflective time right now. And I'm just, and with that, like I said, it isn't happening the way it's always happened previously in my life. So I have no point of reference of really what to compare this to. So I'm just kind of like, what is happening? Because it's not anything I really expected. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'll be turning 40 in June. So then there's that. Every time I think about it, I get emotional. And it's not, I don't even look my age. So it's not that. Like, no one thinks I'm 40. No, I mean, if you know me, obviously you know I'm 40. Especially the people I went to school with. But people who don't know my age, and then I tell them, or if I talk about how old my kids are, I guess I'm just blessed because on my mom's side and my dad's side, everyone ages well. Sometimes it's frustrating because the men that try to talk to me usually are like young because they think I'm younger. So then it's just really weird. But it's like, bruh, I got a 20-year-old. So if you 25, no. You know what I mean? Like, no. So it's frustrating sometimes. I'm not complaining, but it's just, I don't know, it's just weird because I don't look my age, but I am going to be 40 in a couple months, and that's just been, I don't know, it's just so weird. A whole new decade is about to start in my life, and then shortly after that decade starts, just a whole new season of life. Like, I'll only be 42 when my youngest graduates high school. And I have I have friends whose kids are like they're like around my age, my friends, but their kids are like super young in comparison. Or even like my brother and his wife, you know, they have kids way younger than mine. So it's kind of like, it's just this weird time right now where I'm just kind of like I said earlier, I don't know who I am. But then again, at the same time, it's like I love who I am. Like, the fact that I just started talking about having feelings for somebody, I don't really care about really y'all hearing, because y'all don't know this person, or there might be somebody who knows, but it's whatever. But the thought of that person potentially listening, and I don't care, because it's like, should I tell them? I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'm still trying to figure out what I feel and why bring something up. Because I've said before, my feelings can be very fleeting. And because I know that about myself, it would be very unfair to just bring something up. But then again, this is different. So it's like, I don't know. But just saying that, the freedom that I feel, I love that. I love that I feel things more deeply, be it joy or pain. I feel everything so much more deeply now than I did before. And I love that because I feel like I'm experiencing life and all that it has to offer, even though sometimes the painful times feel so much more painful than they ever felt before, especially when I used to numb my pain. But I don't know, I love life. Life is not easy, but I just feel like I'm really living, and that's new. So it's kind of like I'm just at this place where I'm just like, who am I? But I love who I'm becoming. I love who I am, but also who I'm becoming, who I'm unbecoming. I like that better because I feel like at the core of who I am is always there, but I just feel like life happens to where it makes us either more hard-hearted, or is that hard-hearted? I don't know. I think that's the right way I want to say that. You know, it makes us just not living fully, not living. I feel like we only get to experience a fragment of life when we're just walking around wounded. That's why I'm such a big advocate of processing pain, processing the issues of your heart. I remember I went through this, it's a ministry called Fresh Start, and they have it everywhere. You could look it up online. And I think I may have mentioned it before, but I don't remember because I don't remember. So, Fresh Start. And I'll put the information in the episode notes. See, that's something new, because I used to say stuff and be like, oh, go look it up. But then it's like, what if somebody really wants that information? They might need that information. But Fresh Start is a ministry that focuses on processing the issues of your heart. And I remember I went through that to go just really process the stuff with my dad, because, and I've talked about it before, but if you're new, let me just sum it up real quick. So my mom and dad split when I was, I think, about to turn 2. Haven't seen him since I was 4. When I was 19, I reached out to him. I guess I never told the whole story like this. When I was 19, because I always felt like, you know, man, if only he would have been around, maybe some of the things that happened to me in my childhood wouldn't have happened. So I reached out to him when I was 19. We kind of got connected for a little bit, and then it fell off. Then when I was 30, then when I was 34, my aunt, his sister, found me on Facebook, reconnected me with my family, which it was just so insane, because I never really thought about having family. Like, I only ever thought about him, and then he didn't want anything to do with me, so I just never really thought about having cousins and aunts and all these people that, like, actually wanted a relationship with me. So So then I reached out to him again, and we got in contact, or whatever, and he kept saying he was going to come visit, didn't, and then we fell off after, I want to say, well, first of all, let me preface, a year and a half went by. Okay, so, like, we kind of talked on and off for a year and a half, so it's not like we talked consistently. And then, because what I remember too, like, after the girl's dad died, I don't know if that was just too much for him to deal with, which I don't even really know what he thought I expected of him, because if you are anyone who I, like, actually talk to you about what I'm feeling in the moment that I'm feeling, I trust you, because I don't, especially with that whole grief thing, that was wild when it first started, because I had never been through anything like that, and it's still, like, it's not like I'm over it, you know what I mean? So, I don't even know if that's why, but I just know after that is when we fell off even further than what was already kind of going on. And then I want to say, so that was 2015, barely talked to him from 2015. Then 2016, he called me on my birthday, and then I didn't hear from him for like almost 3 years until Mother's Day 2019. And I would call at stuff at first, leave voicemails, and then he wouldn't respond. So, I just, whatever. And then he randomly called me and was like, oh, it's going to be, I'm going to be more consistent. I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm going to call you every day, but I am going to make more of an effort. Cool. Because I had told him from, like, jump, once I kind of saw him doing this in and out stuff, I said, like, I'm grown. I'm his only child, by the way. Just thought I'd put that out there. But I was like, I'm grown, and I lived my whole life without you, so I am very open to having a relationship with you. But if that's not what you want, that's cool. But what you're not about to do is be in and out, because that's just unfair to me. And he said, okay. And then that's exactly what he did. So then 2019, now sidebar, his brother, my uncle, he died July of 2019, a little bit after my birthday. And which is crazy, because the girl's dad's death anniversary is 2 days after my birthday. So, he died, and then, long story short, my aunt, my uncle was way more invested in me once my family found me than my dad has ever been my entire life. Like, I would talk to my uncle about grieving the girl's dad. I would talk to my uncle about my dad. And my uncle never, like, would be like, oh, well, that's your dad. So, nah. You know what I mean? Like, he never invalidated my feelings. And so, my uncle died, and I remember my aunt made a group chat trying to, because when people die, you start thinking about how life could quickly go or whatever, and how family is important. I've noticed that a lot of times after people die, but the unfortunate thing is that we didn't stay in the group chat. But then also, besides that, is that my dad completely did not acknowledge me in this group chat. And I would talk to him directly. So it's not like I didn't acknowledge him and he didn't acknowledge me. He didn't acknowledge me, and people would even call him out about it, and he didn't. And so after that, which was extremely humiliating, because it's one thing for you to just, I guess, not reach out, and I'm not reaching out, and even it's one thing for me to reach out and I guess only that you're ignoring me, but like, he did this in front of a whole group of people, and it's not like any of them laughed or, like I said, people went in on him about it, but the whole point is that it was very painful and brought up a lot of emotion that I didn't even know was there. So I did Fresh Start, excuse me, because I had done Fresh Start for other people in my life, just, my mom is great, but they're just, you go through stuff. I'm sure, I know there are things that I've done that have caused my kids pain or whatever, so it's not like my mom was this terrible mom. I have a great mom, but it doesn't mean that things didn't happen. Maybe I didn't feel understood or just whatever reason. So I had gone to process just my feelings with her. I had gone to process my feelings with my stepdad and just stuff that happened with him. He raised me, or I don't want to, because they divorced, but that's the only dad I know. I guess I'll just put it like that. So I had already done this stuff with them, but I had never processed my bio dad, because it's one thing, I don't know, I guess it's like, I'm not going to say it didn't affect me, but it didn't affect me the way it did when I knew you were rejecting me. For whatever reason that you have your own issues. I know my grandma died before I was even born, when he was super young. He told me about that one time, and then I don't know what relationship he had with his dad. To be honest, well, my grandpa, but to be honest, I don't think he had one, just from kind of stuff he's mentioned or whatever. So I get it. We all have our own issues, our own whatever, but at the same time, you have caused damage to me. And so I did that, and it's super helpful. So I'm a huge advocate of dealing with your issues, because if I don't deal with my issues, when I interact with people, I'm interacting with them out of a wounded heart, and then I'm probably hurting them based on my own wounds. And I feel like that just happens so much in society. And so that's why I focus on talking about emotion and things that everyone can relate to. Like, my audience of people that listen, I'm always surprised, especially the people who I know, who will just randomly be like, either text me depending on what the episode was like or about, or even just say, oh, I've been, listening to your podcast. It's all races, ages, whatever. And I think it's just because it's stuff that is relatable to everybody because it's emotions based. So I don't even know how I ended up there either, because that's not in my bullet points. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at right now. And season 2 will start next week. Make sure you listen to the little thing, because I want y'all to send me audio messages, whatever. I'm not going to say all that because I recorded a specific thing that says it how I wanted to say it. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, hopefully y'all come back next week. So first things first, shout out to Sniper T for this beat, and all his information can be found in the episode notes. Now, like I say on social media, I want y'all to interact with me, so here's a few ways you can do that, and the links and whatnot to all these methods are in the episode notes as well. Now, you can leave me a voicemail. Call 720-457-4022. You can email me. Hey, y'all can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and I'll follow you back. And then you can go ahead and slide in the DMs, just not on no weird stuff. You can also like the Facebook page, and the link on there goes to my email as well. Now, what I need y'all to do is pay attention on my socials for when I ask for feedback for the Thoughts to Ponder episodes that air every other Monday, because the reality is that y'all feedback is what makes those episodes dope. So, leave me a voicemail, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or email me. Just holla at your girl.